Good morning. Welcome you all. We'll start with the next important topic in molecular biology, that is transcription. So, in the earlier chapters, we studied mainly about DNA replication, then we studied a bit about RNA. So, the link, that means the transcription is the process which really links these two molecules. That is, the one is the DNA, another is RNA. It links both the molecules. But the process of linking is very simple in bacteria, but compared to the complicated process in human beings or what you call eukaryotes. Eukaryotes, the process is little complicated because lots of factors, lots of proteins are involved. You know, right? I hope you know that eukaryotic genome is little more complicated because the length is very high. Lots of protein requirement is there. So the same complications are the same complexity can be, it's a simple but it's a complex process. That's a thing I just wanted to tell you all about transcription. So if you're putting it in the form of a definition, transcription is a process by which a DNA template is copied to a RNA. So it's a process through which the DNA is converted into RNA, or DNA template is copied to an RNA strand. That's the important thing. That means it is the process where DNA is converted into RNA with the help of a particular enzyme that is called the conversion of DNA into RNA with the help of enzyme called RNA polymerase. Also, you can write it. You can write transcription, the definition of transcription in any way. That means the process by which a DNA template is copied to an RNA strand, you can write it, or else it is the process where RNA is synthesized from DNA with the help of enzyme called RNA polymerase. That possibilities. That means you can put it in anything, but end the DNA should be converted into RNA. So the process is like this. I'm just giving the introduction here. I hope you can see these slides where you can see one picture. There is one blue marking in the beginning of the picture and there is a red marking. That means from the blue, the process starts, and in the red, the process ends. That means a transcription starts from a particular point, then it ends at a particular point. So when we talk about DNA replication or transcription, so everything is under a tight regulation of a cellular machinery. That means it cannot act the way it wants, because that may create a lots of issues in the molecular system. So in order to avoid that, what it does is, so it starts from a particular point, or what we call the transcription starting site, and it ends at a particular sequence. So that's the beauty of this process. This is highly regulated process. So whatever transcription or whatever RNA it produces, it will have a particular length, and it can function as a viable RNA for a longer duration, from which the DNA, the protein can be synthesized, because RNA will provide the platform for the protein synthesis. So this is when we decode the RNA, the cellular body has to decode it properly, then only it can synthesize a proper protein molecule. So from where the RNA, the synthesis of RNA starts, or the transcription starts, that's what you call the transcription starting site. If I'm mentioning in the blue color, that is a transcription starting site in the DNA. If I keep my cursor here, you can see it is a double-stranded DNA. In a particular point in DNA, the transcription starts. And most of the time, this transcription starting point may be AT reach. AT reach because adenine thymine reach, because it's a double bond, and double bond is easy to break. That's the beauty of this concept, or also starting of RNA. So double bond is easy to break, less energy is needed. That might be the reason. We don't know what is the reason exactly, but the scientists are quoting that might be the reason. And there is a strong point to uphold that, because double bond breaking require less energy compared to triple bonds in GC. So this is a simple way of explaining starting of a transcription. But when we explain transcription initiation or the starting, so the important thing is there will be a starting point. In the blue mark I mentioned, there will be anywhere somewhere in the transcription. From there, upstream and downstream. That means if you go from here to down, this is the downstream, and from here upstream. So then what happens if it is a 5' side? That's what you call from there around 10 base pair, -10 base pair or -35 base pair. There is an elements that's called as a promoter sequences. There is a downstream promoter sequences towards what you call 5' end. That's called either -10 or -35. Both the possibilities are there. So if it is a -10, that's what you call I'm talking in terms of the promoters of prokaryotes, not about the eukaryotes I'm touching today. I'm talking only about prokaryotes. The prokaryote, that promoter at -10 is mostly we are concentrated and people are concentrating on, because that is called TATA box, TAT box. So that box is a thymine adenine rich box or Tata box. Next is called Pigno box. Tata box and Pigno box are the two things which act as a the what you call promoter. Promoter is the place from where the RNA polymerase hold the DNA properly and start the process. And the thing is, there will be maybe a maximum of around 10 or 7 to 10 nucleotide difference from the site, maximum 10 or maybe more than 10 in some species from the starting site. Starting site is different, a promoter site is different. So they are together what you call the initiation complex, from where exactly the RNA polymerase binds and then it starts the process of transcription. So you don't worry about a promoter today. About a promoter, the detailed classes I'll take, because a promoter is another important thing which you should understand clearly to explain transcription, because transcription initiation is a very simple process, but at the same time you should understand what is properly a downstream. In this picture, it is difficult for me to show you what is downstream, what is upstream, because here it is not clearly marked. A proper demarcation with the DNA molecule is needed to tell you all that this is a 5' end, so this is a downstream, this is a 3' end, so it is a upstream, and what is the position of Tata box, what is the position of what you call Pigno box, or minus 35 promoter sequence. Although clearly, if I want to tell, then I have to show you that picture. So that picture I'm not showing today. You just understand that there will be a starting site in DNA and there will be a promoter sequence in DNA. Most of the time, this promoter sequence are rich in adenine and thymine because it is a double bond of AZ to base. So in the DNA replication, we observe, so DNA has to separate, two strands has to separate, then only it can start the process of DNA replication. Same thing here. So there are lots of DNA replication is done with many enzymes. That means DNA, helicase, many other enzymes which help to separate strand. But here, all the functions will be done by the single enzyme called RNA polymerase. That means in transcription, the entire process is initiated by the RNA polymerase, continued by the RNA polymerase, and terminated by the RNA polymerase. So that thing you should remember in case of transcription. That means starting with RNA polymerase, continuation with RNA polymerase, and termination with help of RNA polymerase. Nothing else will join there and work. But RNA polymerase, I wanted to talk little more about RNA polymerase. I may talk in the next class along with the promoter. I'll talk separately on RNA polymerase. That is another interesting topic where you need to put little more emphasis to understand, because the RNA polymerase, how exactly it works and how exactly it binds and what are other factors are there. Is it RNA polymerase of human beings and RNA polymerase of bacteria? Is it the same or different category of RNA polymerases are there? Lots of questions will arise. So in order to solve all these questions, I'll take another class on RNA polymerase and what you call promoter separately. But today we will understand there will be a DNA, there will be a starting site, there will be end, and from the starting site, RNA polymerase hold the double-stranded DNA and separate it, copy one strand and make RNA. So that's an important thing. So we'll go further. So you can see here at the termination. So here the process starts like that. So when you complete this entire what you call chapter, you will understand the structure of RNA polymerase. One thing, understand the phases of transcription cycle. How is the transcription will happen? So I'll upload the notes today for a transcription. A very brief notes on RNA production in prokaryotes, not about the eukaryotes I'm not touching. So understand the difference between transcription and replication. That's very, very important. We should understand the difference between transcription and replication. So when we talk about molecular biology, the important thing is we should understand from bit by bit. You have to chop it into a smaller possible pieces, and then you have to understand it. Then it is very easy. The thing is, you may see when you start writing about transcription, you may have confusion that where to start. So the thing is, if anything starts in a molecular system, there will be an end for it. It cannot continue like that. If it continues like that, then that system is not under the controls of regulatory mechanism in us. So all the what you call maybe RNA production or protein production or gene expression, anything you take, finally we put it in a single term called gene expression. It is highly regulated process. So it is under the control of our replication, transcription, translational machineries, which is under the control of gene again. So it is like a web, a network. A well-maintained, a working network is found inside the molecular system, so you can manage whole process with highest precision, highest fidelity, and highest accuracy. That's very much required here. Otherwise, what happens that whatever RNA it produces may have a lots of errors, because the proofreading mechanism, if you compare to DNA polymerase, RNA polymerase is not so strong in proofreading the things, because the proofreading is must. You write something, then you have to read it and you have to see whether spelling mistakes are there, whether flow of information is proper, whether you know vocabulary is what you terms, what you use this proper. All those things you check, right? So same thing happens here. Once the RNA is produced, here it won't wait till the end. So what it does is during the production itself, it check whether what it produced is correct or not. If it is wrong, it will excise that one, add the new one, and maintain the normal or what you call accuracy. That's the thing. So transcription is a process by which a DNA template is copied to a RNA strand. The primary enzyme of transcription is RNA polymerase. When you have completed this entire exercise, I mean entire chapter, you will understand three important things. That is, what is RNA polymerase, what is transcription cycle, what is the difference between transcription and replications. So RNA polymerase. So if you see our prokaryotic RNA polymerase, why I'm putting this picture is, so RNA polymerase generally comprises several subunits, and since RNA polymerase perform all essentially the same vital function in all cells, it's not surprising that the RNA polymerase formed from all organisms share many features. That means there will be a difference between the prokaryotic and eukaryotic RNA polymerase, maybe in the terms of number of subunits or maybe the terms of the amino acid arrangement, but the final function is same for us. The final destiny or the final function assigned for RNA polymerase is to produce RNA, not to do anything else. One thing is produce RNA, hold DNA, produce RNA, proofread RNA, and release RNA for protein synthesis. That is the prime function. So prokaryotic RNA polymerase. So we will concentrate more on prokaryotic RNA polymerase, but when I explain detail RNA polymerase, that time I'll explain you clearly on what is eukaryotic and what is prokaryotic. And here we have shown in a ribbon picture. Why I'm showing this ribbon picture is most of the time we may not have a clear idea of what is the arrangement of this protein in our biological system. Proteins are almost arranged like there is a ribbon coiled around a coil. It's a coil of the coil, and finally produce a functional subunits. So that's the important thing here. So when we talk about protein, if it is an egg, we think protein means it is like a slimy white layer around the yolk. No. So if you open that and if you clearly see that protein arrangement may be different. It may be in the primary structural format, or maybe in the secondary or tertiary or quaternary. Any possibilities are there. Mainly proteins are found in the tertiary format. Tertiary is the working model for the protein in a biological system. So that is a viable working model but predicted for a protein in a biological system. So where it can function its maximum levels. But quaternary is the little more polypeptides if you add, then you can say it's a quaternary. It's a high end of structure. But most of the features what we produce is a tertiary structure of the protein. It appears in the form of a ribbon. So this is a bioinformatics study. That's the beauty of computational biology. By using computational biology, what you can do is you can depict the picture in any format what you need, where you can understand the system in a more advanced or better way. Earlier, we never had what is the protein means. Then they studied what is protein, then what are there in the protein, how they are holded together, and what is the bonding pattern, all those things. Then we got the ribbon structure, from where we can understand where is the cleft, where is the site for a molecule binding. All those things we understood only by looking at the ribbon structure. So ribbon structure will somehow give us a clear idea of binding sites. So same thing, if you put an illustration, this what we are showing is like an illustration format of that ribbon structure. So it's RNA polymerase, it holds like that. It is like your hand, it can hold RNA, the DNA molecule. So this is the active center where the process of synthesis happens in RNA polymerase. So RNA polymerase is a crab claw. The channel runs through the enzyme, starting between the two pinces of the claw, and the active site is found at the base of the pinces with a region called as active center cleft. So that cleft is, that's what I told you earlier. The protein that is a cleft, that cleft is almost like your hand, the palm. When you hold it like this, it's like a claw. So from there, inside the claw, there will be active center cleft where the synthesis happens. So that's the important thing. If you open and see, and if you open further, you can see that some metal ions are involved. So this is not so important for us, but the thing is you should understand how it is holding and the mechanism is happening. This is the mechanism. The active site contains two metal ions. This is consistent with the mechanism for nucleotide addition described for DNA polymerase. Same thing. What is happening in the DNA polymerase? What I explained, same thing. So 3' end of a growing chain. The beauty of RNA polymerase is it does not require any primer. But in DNA polymerase, it requires a primer. It cannot start from nowhere. It requires something. But here in case of RNA polymerase, such a prior requirements are very less in case of RNA polymerase. It simply adds nucleotide after nucleotide and it makes RNA. But when we talk about RNA, only difference is uracil extra it adds instead of thymine. Instead of thymine, it adds uracil. So if thymine are there, means it's surely DNA. If some molecules are given with thymine, means it is DNA, not RNA. So transcription starts like this. It starts from one point. So when it starts, there is another factor will come. I'll explain you that factor. So entire transcription is divided into 3 steps. One is initiation, second is elongation, and third is termination. So there are 3 processes: initiation, elongation, and termination. So initiation, elongation, termination together we call a transcription cycle. So the transcription cycle is the series of events between binding of DNA polymerase to the target gene and the dissociation of RNA polymerase and the complete RNA transcript from the completed RNA transcript from the DNA. The transcription cycle divided into 3 phases, what I told, that is initiation, elongation, and termination. If you want, you can read. Things are there at the bottom in the slide, you can read it. So I'm not going to read entire thing. The thing is, the transcription initiation is very important. Why I'm telling is initiation important? The promoter, a region at the start of a gene where RNA polymerase binds and initiates a transcription process. So it is the region in the transcription initiation site, that's what we call the promoter, where RNA polymerase binds. When RNA polymerase binds, you can see there is a one more yellow molecule. You can see here one yellow molecule, I hope. So that yellow is called as what we call sigma factor. So sigma factor is required. Sigma factor is required to recognize the what we call a promoter sequence. So transcription initiation divided into 3 steps. In the first step, RNA polymerase binds to a region of the DNA called as promoter. In the bacteria, this step involves initiation factor called sigma. Don't get confused with eukaryotes. We are not talking about eukaryotes, only about bacteria. There is a factor called sigma, which recognizes various sequences within the promoter, and the RNA polymerase with the sigma binds the promoter in a defined orientation. So the same DNA strand is always transcribed from a given promoter. The RNA polymerase and the promoter form a complex. That means there will be a promoter region. That means if you are just imagine like a TAT, that means a Tata box. This RNA polymerase with what we call sigma factor will bind. This blue with yellow will bind the region. Once it is bound, it forms a closed complex. The closed complex consists of the RNA polymerase promoter complex in which the DNA strands remain together. That's called a closed complex. Once it is formed a closed complex in the region of what you call promoter, then the process starts, initiation process starts. In the second step, the closed complex undergoes a transition to the open complex. That's very important. So initially it forms a closed complex, then it forms a transition to the open complex. That means the pincers at the front of the enzyme, I mean the flower, there's a clamp down tightly hold the downstream DNA, and sigma also changes conformation, and the DNA strands separate, forming a bubble of a single stranded DNA. That means this sigma factor, along with the clock of this RNA polymerase together, separate DNA strand from that specific point and maintain a transcription bubble. That means same bubble you might have observed in case of DNA replication. A similar bubbles are formed here. That means both the strands are separated and form a bubble. So once a bubble is formed, then it can start the process. So first step, it formed the closed complex where sigma factor, RNA polymerase bind a double-stranded DNA in the what you call a transcription starting site along with a promoter. Once it is bound, it shifts towards there will be a transition happens towards open complex. In the open complex, all these factors holds and RNA polymerase promoter complex in which the DNA at the start site of the transcription is unbound and the polymerase positions to initiate the process of transcription. So that's the important thing. So from closed to open transition leads to initiation of transcription cycle. Once initiation started, in contrast, the DNA polymerase, I'm telling one more point I'm putting here, please clearly listen this. In contrast with the DNA polymerase, RNA polymerase is able to begin the synthesis of new polynucleotide without a primer. That's very important thing. However, once RNA synthesis begins, the RNA polymerase goes through a period of what you call a short period synthesis. Then it is called RNA exit. That means initially the process is called abortive RNA synthesis. This process, what you seeing here, it is not a continuous process at the initial stage. This is probably because region of sigma partially blocks the RNA exit channel. Once the region has been ejected and the RNA chain is longer than 10 nucleotide has been synthesized, the elongation phase begins. That means from the promoter region, the RNA polymerase has to escape. That means minimum it has to synthesize 10 nucleotide. I mean the RNA polymerase with RNA with the nucleotide. Then it can escape from that region. Otherwise, cannot. So that's why it is important. Initial synthesis is called as abortive synthesis. The small fragments are synthesized, maybe 2 nucleotides, 3 nucleotides, then it is released. But once it is escaped from the promoter, then the elongation starts. So I'll show you again here. You can see it just starts small fragments, green things it is releasing. No, that's what the fragments are. Once it is synthesized, then it escapes on the promoter. And same time, you can see the difference between earlier RNA polymerase and the present RNA polymerase. Now sigma factor is not there. Once it is initiate the process, the sigma factor will leave the complex. Now only RNA polymerase will be there. So during the elongation, there is no role for this sigma, what you call sigma factor. Only for RNA polymerase there is a role. So that's the important thing. This is probably because region of the sigma partially blocks the RNA exit channel. Initially, why it is going for an abortive process is, so RNA polymerase bound with sigma, so RNA polymerase cannot synthesize and eject or exit this RNA properly. So what happens, chops small pieces and it escapes. Once it escapes from the initial site, then it is free to send the newly synthesized RNA through its channel. There will be a channel, for exit channel will be there, through that it can synthesize and release RNA molecule. So formation first in the initiation, formation of flow to the complex, then transition to an open complex, then promoter escape. Once it escape promoter, then what happens? The synthesis, that means the elongation starts. Next process is called elongation. The process is going on. I hope. During elongation, RNA polymerase unwinds the DNA in front of the enzyme, synthesizes RNA, proofreads RNA, dissociates RNA from the DNA, and re-anneal the DNA behind the enzyme. So what it does is, it does all the function what DNA polymerase and all together enzymes are doing. It is doing all the function. Sorry, something went wrong in the animations. I hope, can anyone unmute and tell me whether you can see my slides?
No, sir.
No, you cannot see, no? Yeah, something went wrong with the internet, I think. Now you can see?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay, good, thank you. So, wait for 2 minutes because this is the animation, I cannot continue. So unfortunately something went wrong in animation. So we have to go it again from the transcription cycle. So promoter, region, sigma factor is binding. Wait for 2 minutes. It will take same time you can read the information what I mentioned in the slide. Yeah, first is closed complex, then open complex, finally a promoter escape. Once it escapes from the promoter region, then this is what we call elongation. So the thing is here, all the function is done by the same enzyme. It does all the functions like unwinding DNA in front, and this that means synthesis of RNA, proofreading, and dissociation of all the functions you can see here. What DNA replication remain different proteins are done, the same function is done by the one single enzyme here. So it is unwinding RNA front, and it is rewinding RNA back, and it is dissociating RNA, it's synthesizing RNA, it's proofreading RNA, it's re-annealing. All the function is done by a simple single enzyme. That is called RNA polymerase. That's the beauty of RNA polymerase compared to DNA polymerase. So proofreading is very important thing. You can see in this picture, the proofreading activity of RNA polymerase is less efficient than the DNA polymerase. That's the one thing we should remember. That another color you can see, they have mentioned a fluorescent color. If any incorrect nucleotides are there, those nucleotides are excised and removed. So while the proofreading activity of DNA polymerase is only about one mistake in 10 million nucleotides. So 10 million nucleotide, one mistake. But here in case of RNA polymerase, the mistake chances are 1 in 10,000. The difference, I hope you know what is 1 million. 1 million means 10 lakh. 10 million means 1 crore. That means if it add 1 crore nucleotide, there will be one mistake in DNA polymerase. But here in case of RNA polymerase, one mistake will make per 1000 nucleotide addition. 1000 nucleotide addition, there will be one mistake there. 1 crore nucleotide addition, one mistake will be there in DNA polymerase. So this is what you call the exo and endonuclease activity. That means it does proofreading either by a pyrophosphorylatic editing. That is a pyrophosphorylatic. That means the phosphate bond is broken, break. Once it is break, that entire process is restarted. It removes that. That's a pyrophosphorylatic editing. That's the one process it does. You don't worry much about the process what is doing, because we are not concentrating more on RNA, how it does, because that part is not there. But you can tell that the RNA will proofread the RNA polymerase will proofread the RNA either through this mechanism, that is pyrophosphorylatic editing, or next mechanism is hydrolytic editing. By using water, it breaks. Either pyrophosphorylatic editing or hydrolytic editing. So with the help of a factor called GRE factors. So GRE is the factor very important. The second mechanism is hydrolytic editing, and involves backtracking of the polymerase by one or more nucleotides to cleave the RNA product. In bacteria, hydrolytic editing is stimulated by a GRE factor, G capital RE factor, which also serves as an elongation stimulation factor. So only two factors you should remember here. One is a sigma factor at the beginning and GRE factor in between. So GRE factor is the one thing which stimulates RNA polymerase synthesis, I mean the elongation and proofreading also. Both the function it does. So proofreading, or else in a single sentence you can mention, RNA polymerase will proofread the RNA with the help of either pyrophosphorylatic editing or else hydrolytic editing with the help of factor called GRE factors. You don't worry much about this thing, because proofreading as such we don't have in our syllabus, but proofreading we'll study as a part of RNA productions. So once the process continue like this, it will reach us a termination. So this is an important thing, the terminator sequences. The RNA synthesis process has to stop. So in bacteria, two types of termination can happen. One is a row independent termination and row dependent termination. Row is a protein, okay, RHO. Row is a protein, either row independent termination or row dependent termination. In case of RNA, it is produced in a single strand, but there will be a chance of repeated sequences. If repeated sequences are there, what happens? Those repeated sequences can join together and form a hairpins. So here, row independent, first I'm explaining row independent termination, where what happens, you can see there are some inverted repeats. Those inverted repeats can transcribe, that means can produce RNA. Those RNA can form a hairpin. You can see this is called inverted repeat. Around 20 nucleotide inverted repeat will be there. So those inverted repeat can form hairpin. You can see here how exactly the hairpin happens during transcription. So you can see here, how the hairpins are happen. So see here, hairpins are happen now. A hairpin structure. Hairpin is like a mountain for what you call RNA polymers. It cannot bypass that. It cannot cross that mountain of nucleotide, a small mountain of nucleotide, that is hairpin. It's a 20 nucleotide inverter. Repeat, around 80 base pairs are approximately. See, don't get confused. No one has took this DNA and counted exactly what is the sequence, and it varies from bacteria to bacteria. So they're given a almost average or approximate count of a 20 nucleotide inverter. Repeat, and around 80 base pairs. So they repeat and form a simple hairpin. And I hope if you travel hill ranges, you can see the hairpin curves. The same hairpin curves or hairpins will form here. And this what happens even in a vehicle during the normal movement, it stops there because it cannot take the turn with help of whatever facilities, the mechanical facilities available with the vehicle. So same thing happens with RNA polymerase. It cannot cross it. So it stops. Then without knowing with this, what happens? The entire process weakens and the RNA polymerase, RNA and the DNA gets released from the site of terminations. So nothing is going and helping here. Only the hairpin formation stops the process and it weakens the base pairing and it releases all the DNA, RNA and RNA polymerase. That is a process of row-independent termination. Next is row-dependent terminations. Row-dependent termination means there will be a protein called row. That protein will recognizes this termination sequence and terminate the process. So you can see here, once it reaches a row, the termination sequence, the row factor will come. Row factor binds to the transcribed RNA as it exits the polymerase using the energy derived from ATP. That means it uses ATP and it chops the RNA. That's all. It chops the RNA by ATP hydrolysis. So row independent, no energy is involved, but it forms a hairpin where the base pairing will weaken between the AU. That means adenine and uracil base pair will weaken. So what happens? The RNA polymerase gets released, RNA gets released, and DNA also gets released. Entire thing will be recycled for a new cycle of transcription. But in case of row dependent, there will be a protein called row protein, which recognizes this what we call termination sequences, and it binds the termination sequences along with RNA, the complex, and it uses ATP and hydrolyzes and release DNA template, RNA polymerase. So the entire thing is recycled back and it can start the new process. Depends on the lifespan of RNA polymerase. But you don't think that RNA polymerase can live up to the entire lifetime. There is no proof like that one RNA polymerase protein, it can live up to the entire lifetime because each protein has got its own half-life. Based on the half-life, each protein is subjected to destruction by a polynucleotide or protein degradation machinery. There is a protein degradation machinery where all these proteins are chopped into amino acids and recycled back for the production of new proteins. So that means nothing is we are losing in our body, but everything is recycled. But during that time, a small amount of nitrogen may be released that may be eliminated from the body in the form of urea in the urine. But same time, some of the nitrogens are reabsorbed, some of the amino acids are recycled, and finally produces sufficient protein to maintain normal transcription cycle. So transcription cycle happens with the initiation, then elongation. In the initiation, sigma factor is important, elongation, GRE factor is important, and two types of proofreading will happen there. One is phospholytic process and another is hydrolytic process. And third, the termination happens with alpha row independent and row dependent. Here you should start with the initiation, closed complex, open complex, and initiation, the promoter escape. Then the what you call the process of elongation, then proofreading, then termination. You can put it in a very simple format. Maybe in one page you can write it, this entire whole process. For that, I'll provide you a very simple picture. So those picture you can refer it for your exams and all. But for classes, I'll be using this. So next class, if possible, hope 5 more minutes are there. If possible. So we'll see this is the entire process of a transcription cycle. We just see, and once see, the thing is here I just wanted to mention the genome is big and the multiple RNA requirement is there. So this process will continue in a sequential manner. a cell can synthesize a large number of RNA transcripts in a short time because this is a continuous process happens in the body. So the time is very short for a genome. So what it has to do is it has to get a maximum what you call RNA for protein synthesis.